Hi guys, welcome back. My name is Fahd Dawood. I talk about real estate, Dubai, internationally, your life, my life, and our path to financial bliss. Look, I've been doing this long enough for me to recognize that any investment, regardless of the asset class, so be it real estate, the equities market, crypto for some of you, or commodities, etc., land, so on and so forth, any investment, if you follow a well worn out process that other investors have followed, you're probably going to come up to a good result. But if you disregard a process, if you disregard expert advice, and you kind of like play it with trial and error kind of approach, you're going to end up with something that's a trial and error kind of approach. Gives you results which are hit and miss, right? 50% of the time you're going to be right, 50% of the time you're going to be wrong. I want to share with you two specific case studies today. One where we followed a very particular process-oriented approach to come to the right investment, in my opinion, and the other where a process was not, so to speak, followed, and then you will see the results for yourself. Okay, before we go further, hit the subscribe button, press the bell icon. If you want to work one-on-one with me, you can always reach me at my WhatsApp number below. That's one of the ways I can be reached, or by email. WhatsApp for now is fastest, and my WhatsApp number right now is out there for the public to get to know me and come back to me with questions. Okay. So, by the way, if you want access to the process that I follow and that I have seen other investors follow, then you can go to the realestatesecretsmap.com. I believe that's the address, and it's going to be described in the description below. Okay. I've essentially broken down the process that I follow into three steps. Okay, there's the hard part, the easy part, the hard part, and then the pro part. And essentially speaking, when I work with my clients who are buying either to live in or an investment, I take them through this process. Today, I'm going to describe to you one of my clients in brief, how I took him through the entire process. Okay, so he approached me, young person working in a multinational company, had saved a little bit of money and was looking to make an investment, but wasn't sure which path to go. Right, he was a little bit confused because he was thinking, I'm going to be getting married soon. Should I be buying a property where me and my wife can live and then grow a family, or should it be purely for an investment? So the first thing that I do, I sit down with the client and I go through a very lengthy questionnaire. I call it the buyer consultation or the investor consultation. And essentially speaking, I understand where the investor is right now in their life, how much money they have, so what's their life goal, their financial goal, and then I give them a 5-point action step or an investment plan that is catered specifically to what they desire. Some investors are looking for a quick flip, others want to stay in the market for 5 to 10 years, others are looking for a place, a property to call home for themselves, and some are confused, right? Should we buy a property and live in it? Or should we buy a property and just rent it out? There is no one right answer for everybody. Everybody's situation is different, which is why I always say advice needs to be customized. It's like going to the doctor and just saying, look, I'm 6 feet, this is my age, can you recommend the best medicine in my current state? And he's going to ask like, what's the issue, what's going on, where do you want to get to, right? So every time I work with an investor or an end user, there's tons of things that are very specific to people that cannot be easily just transported to another buyer, and everybody's different, and for me understanding them very specifically is important. And I remember with this particular investor, what we ended up doing was he was looking for a very specific investment and wanted to concentrate on building his portfolio. So one of the things that I ended up doing was advising him that, look, essentially speaking, you gotta take one track. So if you're looking at a property to invest and rent it out, then that's the track you take. If you're going to be living in it, it's going to be a separate track. Because I'll tell you very simply, okay? For instance, I had another client who was looking to get married in 2 to 3 years and expected to start a family and needed a maid's room as well. Now, when you go to the market keeping in mind that I might be living in this property, you will have certain standards and you will not end up liking any property that might be just really good for as an investment. You could buy it and rent it out, because when you want to live in it, maybe you want a certain size bedrooms, maybe you need a maid room, maybe you need ensuite bathrooms and all those things, right? And here it was my client, this is another client I'm talking about, who ended up, each time we looked at a property, he would look at it from his perspective of wanting to live there 5 years or 2 years or 3 years down the road, which just doesn't make sense now. And I had to explain to him, like, if you're going to be living here 5 years later, and I know life changes and people change and circumstances change, maybe he'll never end up living there, maybe he'll live in another country in 5 years down the road. I said, look, if you're going to be living here 5 years down the road, why are we using your criteria from 5 years down the road to make investment decisions today for what's good in the market and what's a good deal? And then he understood, he caught on, and then we followed only the investment track, right? And that's what I did with this present client. First of all, we clarified that, look, it's going to be an investment only, and it's not going to be a prime property where he's going to be staying, right? We can keep that at the back of our mind. That's always going to play a role, but it's not going to be the primary push, okay? And then we went through my process of shortlisting properties for either from the resale market or from developers, and then visiting each and then doing the due diligence, right? So my investor would send me properties that have caught his eye, and then I would do the due diligence on the developer. One such developer I remember was from Abu Dhabi, right? Very big name in the Abu Dhabi market, had just forayed into the Dubai market, were not developing in an upper scale area of Dubai, it was an affordable area. And then I did the due diligence, and then I basically came to a realization that, you know, whenever you enter a new market, you bring practices from your old market, which is great, right? But when you look at the UAE market, Dubai is kind of like the standard. I would say the region. Dubai is kind of like the standard in terms of building a community, delivering a great property to your client. And, you know, essentially this is what I told my friend, my investor, that this developer, because in a new area, they're going to end up delaying their project, which is what happened. They're going to end up not giving the same kind of quality that they might promise, because, you know, at the end of the day, the developer might want to deliver a certain kind of quality, but the workmanship, the contractor, the people they're working with on the ground might just not work with them, because it's a new city. Sometimes there's new ways of doing business, right? Anyways, to cut a long story short, we ended up spending approximately a good 6+ months to identify the perfect investment. And we looked through, I think, an exhaustive list of maybe 8 on the low side up to 10 or 12, or maybe 6 and 10 developers and developments. And every time we visited the developer, we would then visit their developments, so to speak, that they had done. I remember one such developer that we visited had launched a master community very close to Burj Khalifa in the Mohammed bin Rashid area called Maidan. And when we visited the developer, they told us, hey, look, we asked, like, in this master community of townhouses, where is the pool, right? And they said, oh yeah, we've got one common pool. Instead of giving smaller pools, we've got one common pool that's Olympic size, that's going to cater to everybody, all the buildings that are in the development and all the townhouses. And I said, okay, great, sounds like a good plan. What we ended up doing was visiting the developer's other master development that they had done the same thing. And when we visited the pool area, we were told that it's run by an outsourced company that charges you a membership fee per month to use the pool. I think it was 350 dirhams per month, which is not very high. But then if you're thinking about investing in their project and you're going to take up a townhouse or an apartment, and then you think, hey, you know, my tenant's going to be happy, he's got access to this life-size, Olympic-size pool. But then once the community gets delivered, right? Because essentially what you do is you look at what the developer has done and expect the same to be done in the newer communities. And if you're renting this property out and you tell your tenant, by the way, there is no gym and there is no pool in the building, but you've got access to this clubhouse for which you got to pay 300 dirhams per family member per month, guess what? Your tenant's not happy. And that's either going to get adjusted in the rent that you're going to be getting, or he's just not going to be happy staying there, right? Regardless of how nice the building is. Because in Dubai, access to a swimming pool and a good gym is kind of like a basic necessity, okay? It's like access to free education the world over. So we went through a lot of ups and downs, and then we came to the final. It was like a final between two developments. Okay, I'm not going to name either of them, but one was a very top-class building that was delivered and built in Jumeirah Village Circle, and the other was in that same vicinity roundabout. A townhouse, but in a very amazing, beautiful community that's master planned, master delivered. And in the end, we chose the townhouse because, in my personal opinion, the community and the value that the community brings with the parks, the mosque, the children's play area, all the other first-class amenities that come with that is going to elevate this townhouse's value vis-a-vis a standalone building, as good as that was in terms of quality and finish, in a community which is Jumeirah Village Circle. Nothing wrong with it. That's not really fully developed yet. Okay, there, I said it. So we went through a lengthy process, and then we reached a very nice position where we ended up buying, in my opinion, an amazing property. Right? It was a good deal, good payment plan. And I think it was like one of the last units with the developer. Great, we moved on. Let me give you another scenario of another client, well, pseudo client. He's kind of stuck in a situation with a particular developer, and he's already paid the down payment. Now, this is something I'm going to tell you that's going to happen with a lot of developers, with a lot of customers who go it alone. Okay, you've got the cash. And the cash, you know how they say cash is burning a hole in my pocket? With investors, this is what I feel, right? Cash is burning a hole in your hands, right? You're always itching. And it's fair enough, right? Cash just sitting there is essentially losing value with inflation, right? So how do you hedge against that inflation? You put it in an asset that hopefully gives you net income, and then over a period of time, 5, 10, 20 years, appreciates, so that if you sell it, you've got more money than what you actually put in, right? That's hedging against the inflation, right? So investors got this cash and it's always itching, and they need to deploy, right? And investors are looking at Dubai, for instance, this investor who's looking to enter into the Dubai market. This is what happens when you go it alone, okay? You go to Google, you search for Dubai property, you look at a few projects that make sense, you look at a few areas that you've heard about, like for instance Palm Jumeirah, for instance, or Dubai Marina, or downtown Dubai, or you look at projects that are affordable for your pocket, right? So Palm Jumeirah, Dubai Marina, downtown are essentially areas which the prices are a little bit higher, right? Fair enough, no problem. You go through the shenanigans with the agents one-on-one, right? So each agent, every time you call them or you send your information to them, call you, right? Sometimes they bombard you with calls. And this is something different with my investor, right? Because I'm the front face. I face off with the agent. So they know they're dealing with somebody who's an expert in the Dubai market. He's experienced in the Dubai market. So in other words, they can't bullshit me, right? And I'll know bottom price, I'll know negotiation margins, I'll know payment plans, I'll know how much inventory they have. I can know this within a 10-minute call, because agents speak to other agents, right? And we're generally honest with each other, right? And I know the trigger words to give them to get that information out from them, right? So here's this investor who's not using my services, and he goes and he approaches the developer, and the developers now start bombarding him. Boom, boom, boom. And his telephone number goes from one agent to another agent to another agent to another agent, sometimes the same developer, right? Because developers know, the developers are like the house. They're like the casino house, right? Or they're like expert salespeople, because any average human has only so much capacity to say no. You can either say no. Sometimes people cave on the first time. Some people have higher thresholds. They cave on the third time when things are offered. Some people cave on the fifth, I think maximum is 8, and if you're really good, maybe 10 or 12 times. If somebody approaches you and asks you to buy something, if you got the money, you're probably going to end up buying. And sometimes you think that you're doing yourself a favor by saying no to developer seller 1, no to developer seller 2, no to developer seller 3. And what ends up happening at that stage is, I would say, choice fatigue sets in, right? You're getting tired, you're getting worn out, because this is not your day job. Looking for a perfect property or an ideal investment is not your day job, right? You've got another job where your income is coming in and you're just looking to deploy this capital. And essentially speaking, at that 6th or 7th or 8th time, you're going to say yes. And this is what happened with this investor, right? He said yes to a guaranteed income, which in Dubai is a ploy, because about 3 to 4 years ago, the regulator of Dubai, real estate regulatory agency, essentially said this: any developer that is offering a rental guarantee, what the real estate regulatory agency wants to do with these developers is have them put up a financial guarantee through a bank with RERA to ensure that this guarantee that they're promising to their investors will be met regardless of market conditions. Okay, that never really came to fruition. Okay, and most developers stopped offering that. Number 2, most of these guarantees, generally speaking, are not offered as part of the sales and purchase agreement. Okay, they're offered as a standalone paper apart from the sales and purchase agreement. Now, I don't understand why the developers who are doing this think that they can get away with it so easily. So essentially, I guess they think the sales and purchase agreement, because a copy goes to the land department, is somehow more binding and obligatory in terms of obligation on the developer than the standalone page that they give you, promising you 8%, 10%, whatever kind of rental guarantee. Okay, but I think they figure, hey, we're going to maybe walk away from this if things go bad, right? And you got to know this: the developers got 10,000 or 3,000 or 1,000 customers. If they don't honor their rental guarantees, you can literally, I could bet your top dollar on this, only 2 or 3 people would end up taking them to court. The rest are not going to do that, right? Okay, last but not the least, when you're investing with a developer, the easiest way is based on a principle that I've applied in real estate. Past performance is a strong or the best indicator of future performance. You just look at old projects that they've done in Dubai, and this can be applied to anywhere, any city, any country, any continent in the world if you're buying real estate. Just look at past projects and how they've delivered it. And if the project's delivery is not on time, not in quality, you know that the developer is going to do the same with this current project. Now, sometimes developers have delivered a lot of projects, but every single project was delayed and full of problems. Sometimes they delivered a lot of projects, but now the projects, the last few that they've delivered, have had problems. You, as a foreign investor, won't know this and will not know the market secrets. You would have to talk to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 agents and rely on their expert, honest, competent advice. And that's how you'll know. So here's the story, right? 2 different clients. One, listen to advice, stands behind me. So I'm the infantry. I go in first, do the due diligence, and make sure things are kosher and halal and a-okay for us to put the investment. The other makes the decision, then comes to me and says, can you help me in that situation? I can't. But this video should serve notice and a fair warning to everybody. Look, you're about to invest in property. You've earned your money hard. Spend it wisely. Invest in something that's going to get you great returns, going to be a good property for you, for your generations to inherit, and for you to be able to earn enough for you to be able to grow your portfolio, right? Let the money come in and spend it wisely. Hit the subscribe button, press the bell icon. Ciao for now. You want to work with me one-on-one? WhatsApp me. There is a fee involved. If you got general questions, in the comment section. Talk to you soon.